Blessings and welcome forward to Reasonings right here at the Tree of Life. I'm your host, the great owl, Jerome Butler, in the presence of my co-host, brother Ramon Singh. Perfect love. Perfect love. Blessing, brother. Here we are yet again at the Tree of Life, yeah? Sometimes we complain about the background, but we know we have a bird serenading us with some nice music. And so we feel good about that. It's an awesome day. We've been on the road, we've been doing some work. And we finally made it to Tree of Life. And the current topic, is contrasted against, let's say, the environment we're coming from today, which is so lush and green and very inviting, to what we're going to talk about, which is not so pretty, not so beautiful. But we hope not to be just regurgitating fears or old information. We hope to be inspiring others into choices, right? So, Brother Singh, introduce today's topic, and we can get the flow into the dichotomy of our reasonings.
Yes, Brother Sage. Well, based upon how the projection of things going in Babylon system, it would seem that a famine is on its way. And it's basically here. This is just the starting stages of it. We can see it in oil prices because it's a chain reaction, So the farmers use diesel in their farm equipment. So it will be even more expensive for them to produce the food. So the food prices will go up. The government in the US actually tell the farmers to destroy their crops and they'll get back their profit that they're supposed to get plus 0.5 more.
5% more.
Yeah, man. Or should I say 50% more?
Oh,
5.50, 50% more. Or it's not point, but 50% more.
Yeah, 50.00.
True. So, if you research it, you're going to find out that farmers destroying their crops because government said they're to do it for carbon emissions control.
Oh, climate change argument, okay.
Yeah, man. And now some places are basically throwing oil away.
Oil?
Oil. Dumping out the oil reserves because it was ordered to. The ports are holding stocks. So every industry feeling it. People can't really get wood again, it's hard to get. Can't really get steel, it's hard to get. Metals, it's hard to get. Aluminums. It's getting more expensive. Some people can't even get paint. Paint hard to get. Automotive, things that the automobile needs.
Yeah, the parts and such.
The parts for the auto, hard to get because what? Steel hard to get, materials that them need. Them need paint, them need metals. It's hard to get.
It's a serious argument, Brother Singh, because as you're speaking, I'm thinking about, the multiplicity of angles to take this from. The first place I wanted to take it from is, usually, I as I said to you, I go with the spirit, I have my way of relating it, but sometimes I have to go directly to what is said because I don't have an opinion. And people think because I'm very verbose, sometimes I have opinions. The reason why I don't have any opinions is because it's just not in my heart to think about things that way. That being said, the first thing that the Spirit put on my heart, when you spoke about famine, it says you got to speak about the fact that this is not just something he's going to come up with just for a topic. There is an actuality here going on. And the first thing is this. I remember the church that I would pay attention to, who I have often recognized, no one is perfect, not even an institution made up with imperfect people will be perfect. So we're not talking perfect. And people go examine and see what faults they have to see whether they should agree with my argument or believe what I'm saying or not. That's not important to me. I'm just laying it out as how it is. First of all, that church was speaking for the last 2 years about an impending famine, and that the Lord had showed them, what was to come. And I'm a person I believe in cycles in the earth. So I believe that sometimes there is a cycle of scarcity based upon human design and human desire. So I say it is manufactured, hallelujah. I say it is a manufactured scarcity and hence a manufactured famine. However, before I even get into my view of this, the Lord has been showing me through this church and this organization, the plans coming through the kingdom to encourage individuals to farm. And so the church has created what is called a farming solution. And so they have been, in earnest embarking on renewable agriculture, practices, what we would call, agriculture for sustainable living, right? And making the whole outlook, not just in terms of a spiritual outlook, but a spiritual and physical outlook, that we are here on the earth having our lives here. And so our spirituality informs us to follow the Most High to the farm, to start planting heirloom seeds and heritage seeds so that biodiversity can be maintained and preserved. Why is this important? Because genetically modified organisms in the plant plasmata, in flora, modifies the seeds in the environment of similar plants in the environment. So when the GMOs come, they basically corrupt the organic plants. And when GMOs, which is a patented branding on a specific seed, came into the market, what happened is that food security became a matter of a business. And remember, we already had industrial models of agriculture, right? That was based upon market design demographics, not about what was healthy to be on your plate or what was healthy to consume. It was about what was most cheapest to produce in large quantities and have mass production designs upon the market, and then drive the market development ideals, i.e. the modification of the plant organism in terms of flavor, taste, texture, size, appearance. And so all of that drove natural, agrarian, subsistent, agricultural based society and a natural paradigm into a material and market driven paradigm. So with GMO as the highest of it, food is just like an economic instrument on the market. It can be used to wage war, to create false scarcity, to drive up prices, right? It can lead to glut on the market, right? Or a backlog on the market, in another sense, same glut. Or a scarcity on the market where they're trying to force individuals into a sense of hysteria towards affecting their choices. Now, majority of the things that are relevant to human life and human experience is outsourced to an industry. And because it's outsourced to an industry, we don't have that kind of a home and family security in economics. We have some similitude of home and family economics if we are cultural. And cultural practices like fundamental Rastafari and Aboriginal practices enshrines in the identity a connection to God, man, and nature, to preserve nature for it is our home. And usually those mindsets and those communities naturally would always be farming. But with these developed societal modules now, your tomatoes, your apples could come from 5,000 miles away. You understand what I'm saying? The flour that you're consuming could have been farmed with very pervasive pesticides that biologically and epidemiologically proves that those kind of things within your body historically causes diseases because it's historically not a part of your family's diet, your ancestral diet. So medically, because I guess that word is trying to, but essence of epidemiology, which is the study of disease. So epidemiologically speaking, right? Diseases that are not familiar to you enter because of all these weird things we are eating, these genetically modified foods. So those strange diseases lead back to the kind of increase in healthcare costs, right? So the food is unhealthy, it's become a business module, it's making you sick, it's costing you more in medical bills and costs. So it's a circle of basically abstracting energy, time, and your life from you. So when that system designer is saying to me that there is a scarcity in the resources, in terms of food stocks, in terms of the equipment to be able to produce the food stocks, in terms of manpower to be able to harvest the food stock, in terms of manpower to pack, sort, pack and ship food stock. I don't think that is the case. However, because I think there's a systematic drive towards a one world system, and in order to do that, you have to wrestle power away from independent thinking individuals and societies. And so therefore you have them all a part of one economic system where it relates to food. And so then you can control oil and those things. I do not know if it is a fact that the governments are telling people to dump their food stocks or to dump their reserves. I don't know that is the case, but I do believe what the Lord is saying, hallelujah, that an artificial famine is being created. I do believe that is the case. And that what we should direct the believers in is to remind them of the agrarian, the agricultural based nature of life for thousands of years. You got to learn to farm. You got to learn to make use of your environment, however it appears, to be able to be conducive to produce vegetative matter. Because if you cannot produce your own naturally homegrown plant, you cannot be sure of your health, your wealth and your well-being, because we do not know biologically or chemically what we're putting into our body. And so we should remind ourselves of, even if it's a pot, instead of just planting flowers for ornamentation, plant some cauliflower, plant some radishes, plant some lettuce, plant some carrots, right? And try to retain heirloom seeds. That means the ones that are not modified, right? So those are from traditional farmers, and support more community gardens, community markets, farmers markets that is not marketed for commerce but for the farmer with the organic produce to get to the end user, which is the consumer. Brother, see.
Yeah, man, I remember in the Bible when the famine come to Egypt. I remember him get the dream, and 7 years prosperity, 7 years famine.
Yes.
So I saw Babylon now, the Egypt. Them want to be the Egypt that the whole world are going to turn to survive.
I see you, man.
Because we will last for 2 years, 3 years. But 7 years, we have to go turn to Egypt, forget the grains. Because I remember the brothers.
Yes.
Joseph brothers,
Yes.
The 12 tribes of Israel.
Yes.
So him brother them go Egypt, forget grain.
Yes.
Because famine in the land. So we have to go, them want us to depend on them. And as you said, them are going to feed us, them GMO. We're going to get sick. We're going to buy them medicine. We're going to fill up them pocket. And them are going to take we out one by one, slowly. Until them get them desired amount of people what them want.
Calling the human populace.
So at that we first start gather what we can gather. Not say panic buying or nothing like that, or I just will say go and gather some grains. Just in case. Because the most I are blessed with a little warning.
Hallelujah.
So who have ears, let him hear. Who have eyes, let him see. Go do your research. See what go on in the world. So they are shorting stocks deliberately orchestrated famine. It rough in a Babylon, man. So that's why them always say trod to the mountains.
Yeah.
Anytime you know say war and the invader come, and you know say it a rough times is coming.
Yes.
Head up to the mountains, man. Get yourself self-sustainable. You know? But we not say everybody for rush to the mountain but get things in order.
True, true.
Have a little savings plan. Go and stock up little grains and things where you know we can't mash up in terms of spoil.
Yes.
And you say, alright, I have little rice, I have little grain, you know, some red peas, make some rice and peas. You know, probably little saltfish, salted fish, you know. Something what can't perish.
Yeah, the non-perishables, right?
Yeah, and as we say, start farm up with things because it might not be this year that we feel it. It might not be next year that we feel it. But same time it might be next month we start feel it because we have feel it already. When we go to the grocery store and we take up the same amount of things that we normally take up, I realize the bill really high. And I say, no man, are the same things I take up last month or the months before, and it never so high. Why the food bill so high right now? Because it slowly, they know same with the gas, every week, slowly go up.
It says fuel
slowly
costs.
go up.
Yes.
Yeah man, with light bill, electric bill, high, because what? Oils run the electric.
Fossil fuel is such an integral, as they say, to the whole industrial model of economics, right? And they got farming and the industrial model. And just like how sometimes they want to create what they call high-end luxury goods, what they do is, as they claim, drive up the prices first of all, and then make it seem that that which is natural to you is no longer available to you, and then present you now with an alternative which is securing you the highest quality, right? But at this expensive price. So they'll tell you biodiversity no longer exists. You can no longer get the natural tomatoes and the natural onions and the natural peppers, but now you can get an onion tomato, right, that has the genes infused into each other, and they'll promote it with ad campaign and tell you it's the new norm, it's the new norm, 2-in-1. You've got onion and pepper in one, right? So you no longer need to buy onions and pepper, you just buy pepon, right? Onepa, right? And onepa is the new thing. And so it is a programming, because when it becomes a industrial module, an industrial and economic layout, you know, directed at making profit. So now they don't care how many families will be unable to afford the new peponian, right? They're not really concerned about that. What they're concerned about is their market, right? And now that they're saying, well, they're going to have to spend more and buy it, because you can't get your natural peppers and onions for 4 cents anymore. You got to buy peponian for $2.40. So because you can't get regular onions and peppers anymore, you're gonna have to force to fork out the $2.40 for the pound. And it's going to take money away from something else to be put towards what was just your regular needs. So they bottleneck the industry by first destroying biodiversity, so that the natural organic things that you usually could get everywhere is no longer available. And so that false scarcity drives up profits, because now you have to go to them to get what you normally would need to be a part of your culinary delights and your gastric needs. And so over the years, what they've been doing is naturally pushing subsistent organic farmers out of the business. That is the grandmas, the grandpas, the granduncles, and the grandaunts has been doing it for generations. They push them out of the market with industrial farming and telling them that doing things by hand, having a few people come over as we do with our bartering, you know, you can give me a day, I give you a day. They told them that is not sustainable as an economic module. You cannot make money from that. That is not economically viable. You need machinery so that you don't really need the help from others, and you can till the land in a short space of time and recoup your losses in a much quicker time. They don't tell you the fertilizers, the modifications in all the plant, and the damage that centrifugal tilling of the soil does. Central petrol, which is just barely turning over the land in its natural orbit, is healthy for the land, which is aerobic tilling of the land. Now the anaerobic, that is petrol, right? Centrifugal digging is healthy, centrifugal is unhealthy, right? And so that centrifugal of making that big anaerobic mixing, destroys the soil over time. And so the degeneration of the soil over time, it won't yield anything. So all of that innovation you were taught, you're going to lose eventually. And not only that, you're going to destroy biodiversity in the environment, and ecological diversity will be lost. So in years to come, not only will you lose the ability to produce food on your farm without all that chemicals, but even with all the chemicals, you're going to degrade the land so bad it's going to be dry, and all of your biomass will be lost, right? And the rains won't come because you do not have the trees now, the greenery now, the cover. And when rains fall, you're going to cause a flood. And when it causes a flood, because the water cannot naturally seep into the ground and recharge the aquifers, the hydrological cycle is messed up. And that means that that degraded land is barren and unable to produce food. And that is as a direct result of the industrialization, the chemicalization of the farming methodology, because they moved people out of the natural way. So now you can't farm to feed yourself anymore. You destroyed your lands, right? So you're thinking about building a house or building something on it now. And so you're building more and more farmland now. So therefore, there's less land to farm on because you can regenerate the land and reforest the land, right? There's permaculture, permanent agriculture practices which can regenerate the land. But because now, with buying to the industrial module, we switch the source of our end product from our market to another market. So now we say we can source this material from 20 miles away, 2,000 miles away, 5,000 miles away, right? Because we don't have to produce it because it's still there. There's a market for it. We're taking these things with different toxins, with different things that is unnatural to our biology, and a degeneration of all, an increase of degenerative illnesses come forward in the society. Simply what needs to be done is, number one, we need to go back to some of the old ancestral practices of farming. Number one, you have a piece of land, but they told you it's no good. It's no good if you're going to be pouring lots of chemicals in it, digging it up, as I say, in the central, in the unnatural way. You can research, right? And then digging it up in the unnatural way. It's going to destroy the soil over a period of time. But if you follow your grandfather and your grandmother to learn, so when you have a complete, like a food forest or a permanent agriculture, where when you are planting, you don't only plant with the idea that you're clearing masses of land, like the industrial idea for machine to come. Actually, what you're doing is clearing just the spot in the moment, preparing it, right? And all of what you would have used within the process would have been natural, just some small holes and stuff, right? All of the biomass from the leaves, from the grass, and everything goes back as what we call mulch, biomass to be able to help the regeneration process. So people can literally build swales, contours on them land, wadis on them land, ways of basically trapping the water flow on these degraded lands, right? Building these little walls, out of stones, cupping the swales are, sometimes some little curb and channels, right? Just for the sake of when the rain falls, the water can be stored and seep into the land, goes into the aquifer, water is stored on the land, and so the biomass, grass, the little insects in the soil, the birds leaving the droppings, the animals coming, there's grass to graze on. So what happens is that farming practices have become industrial, Brother Singh, in our average, what I call so-called third world society, because industrial farming has taken over our natural way of farming. We have destroyed the land, and we ourselves, a lot of us don't have the technology, nor the know-how to do that industrial farming. So we think that we can add to our own food security. So we take ourselves out of it and we go to the supermarket. I think a lot of those people are going to suffer famine because their only supply of food is from someone else. Marcus Garvey said, he who feeds you controls you. So the people them who saying I only have a veranda, like I said, take out those potted plants and put in some vegetables, right? Start taking seriously that little plot you have on the back. There's aquaponic farming. There's several ways now you can use the technological mindset to help with what you're doing naturally. without making it industrial. Brother Singh.
Yeah, man, and as you speak on that topic, the price of the fertilizers skyrocket, the pesticides skyrocket. Because who produce them? Russia and Ukraine. Them also produce wheat, but surprisingly, them not produce much oil. As in, them not produce oil that much for export like that. So it's like 3% of the world oil, them produce that, 3%. So that war should not be affecting our oil prices.
So much.
So it's orchestrated, it's planting. And everybody just jump on the bandwagon, you know, because it's a business. And them say, well, everybody raising the price, so I raise it too. Because
profit.
if they bought it, the oil, for $100, right? 2 months ago. But because the oil price raised today, the same oil they bought 2 months ago, them raise it up because the oil price is that today. So it's just them make it a profit. Them just using the war as excuse. Same with the electric companies and, you know. So, and go back to the farming, pesticides, is it killing off the bees?
I've been hearing about that.
Bees dying left, right and center. If you have bees and you see a farm pop up next to you, your bees hive will die. If you see an industrial farm next to your bees hive.
Wow.
So usually people who are doing bees nowadays gone up into the mountains. They gone to the mountains with their bees.
Yes, yes.
Because if them see a farm pop up next to them, they have to move. Because their hives will die.
Wow. It's conclusive that the hives are gonna die.
Yeah man, the pesticide, because it's pesticide, you know.
Wow.
It's supposed to kill insects.
Wow.
So the insect go on the plant, aka the bees,
Wow.
and other insects.
Wow.
You know, the hummingbirds. They are absorbing the poison, bringing back the poison to the hive,
Wow. Wow. Wow.
and I give it to them children. Jano,
I can see that again, we're just waiting for Mr. Loud interrupt us to go through. I was thinking that again, natural organic farming are just nature in its natural cycle, right? In the cycles of flora and fauna, everything has a rhythm and a timing. A time for farrow and a time for fertile, right? A time for preparing, sowing, and a time for reaping. There's seasons to everything. But as we're talking about the bees, as you're talking about the bees are the natural pollinators. So bees actually help the natural biodiversity for this biosphere, this biological system in the flora to continue. So anything that goes contrary to that is taking power away from the natural order. It's so strange that man wants to kill the creatures that affirm that the food is healthy to eat. Because in our traditional tongue we say, if no worms eat it, hallelujah, we must not eat it because it's not healthy. Because the biological universe is what we're a part of. And so if it's going to hurt one creature, it's going to hurt another. Yes, with us it might be slower, and as I said in one video, well, on my other channel, when we talk about being chemically poisoned or having chemicals in your food, they talk about how much parts per million you have within it. And they say, well, if it's 6 parts per million, then it's probably healthy, you know. But if it's less than, you know, if it's more than, 6 parts per million, then it's unhealthy. So if it's 12 parts per million, then they say, well, that cannot be consumed. But at 6 parts per million, it just takes twice as long for it to become lethal in your body. That's what happens. So over time, when you eat this chemicalized food, this genetically modified food, you're not going to be growing pig ears right away. but you're eventually going to have some degeneration in your cellular makeup to your genome if you continue to eat these modifications, right? Just like, oh, when you eat something that is laced with a particular element, the element don't disappear because it has entered your body, right? It still goes on, it is no longer in the plant because the plant is in you, right? So the chemical doesn't disappear because you're eating the plant, the chemical is now in you. So with all these pesticides, with all these chemicals, with all these toxins, consuming them, some will have biological defects, some will lead to autism, some will lead to some kind of mental defects, emotional irrationality, and just being aggressive, problems in moods, right? To the hormonal imbalances, right? There's already too many unnatural hormones within the food causing mood swings, right? Temperamental issues with children, attention deficit. This is all like the children are high, not on the fancy so-called colored junk they're eating, but on the so-called meats and fishes and dairies, hey, that they're consuming. It's like food has become an addiction because the addictive substances are being put into what is called food. So the natural process being destroyed, people going to the supermarket, people going there thinking this is food. Food is no longer in the grace of God now. So you're not eating what God created, you're eating what man created, what the devil created. So because we took our eyes off the ball, these guys are in control of our health, our wealth, and our well-being. And so telling people to gather your thoughts towards being more agriculturally minded, being naturally minded, is not a philosophy to smoke herb and feel good and say, oh, or just say, man, I'm just chilling in Jamaica and clown us. It's about recognizing that your food security is under threat because you don't know what's going into the food that you're eating. We don't know unless we ourselves preserve those organic seeds, heirloom seeds we call them, or heritage seeds, save them, those that are not been modified, trade them with others, get back to understanding the planting cycles according to nature, not according to man and technology, but according to the seasonal cycles. Get back into doing things, making the things that you need for yourself, by yourself. It all is related. So this famine that is coming isn't just because of lack of resources. It's a lack of will, a lack of knowledge, a lack of awareness, because we are going against the natural law. We are going against God's law. We are going against God's ways of being and taking up man's way, a natural way. And hence, somebody's going to tell us when to eat, because we can't go to our farm, into our little garden and pick anything to sustain ourselves. No matter how much we cost Babylon. We have to go to Babylon supermarket and Babylon market. Yeah? And when Babylon market is out, we'll all be crying and screaming. Brother Singh.
Yeah, man, for real, cause we need to find out how to farm in the space that we have. Because some people just have a little apartment, you know, and some people not even get sunlight in them apartment. But what you have little, what you call it now, what them some people grow herbs in them on like this little kit.
Yeah,
with light and
yes,
everything, you know?
Because they can do it under the different UV lights.
Yes,
they can simulate the kind of different energy of sunlight.
Yeah, man, because even if you start learning how to plant things and enjoy the process of something growing and knowing that you plant it, you take care of it and it grows into something luscious, you know, because you might not can move now into a place where you can plant up land.
Yes.
Plant up your land and plant up some nice fruits and veggies. But start prepare, start get some knowledge with the farming. Knowledge how to preserve with food. So if we have some tomato, how we preserve that? You know? How we preserve onions, with garlic, and because it will rotten.
Yeah, jams and jellies and all those little things, you know?
Yes,
Yeah.
Yeah, man, so go and gather the knowledge, and if you have land and farm, start farm up for real. You know? If your land not ready for farm, prepare it.
Yes.
Get ready.
Yes.
Use up what you have. No, it's a pleasure for know say the food where you eat you plant it, you know exactly if chemicals or no chemicals in your food.
True.
But if you buy the food from the grocery store, can we see some nice lettuce? Wow, beautiful lettuce. But when you check it out, them spray it with so much chemicals to make it have that beautiful look. The fertilizer to make it luscious. You know? The pesticides, so not one speck of bite, no nothing on it.
And
it's
wax.
Beautiful.
And the wax, that the wax it.
True. And them wax some of them too. So, and then we go eat that now, thinking say a healthy thing. The lettuce and the cucumber. Because insect love cucumber, you know.
Wow.
So the farmer say, boy, if me not spray it with this, you know,
You're not going to get any.
it'll go dead. Insect will go eat it. So you have to spray it and spray it and spray it again. Because what? A money him will pray. He will make sure say film food are the most luscious, the biggest, the most heaviest.
Yes.
And the
Appearance.
prettiest.
Yes, heft and weight.
Yeah man.
Not nutritional value.
No insect no bite up them thing and them no look ugly. Luscious car. If something weigh 10 pounds, you know, and your times that by 1,000. And or if something weigh 20 pounds and your times that by 1,000. Are two different big number that. So them a try get that 20 pound there. Out of them yield.
Yes.
And them we never eat not one cucumber.
You're not right.
Because them know say it full up of poison. But what? Them want to get that paycheck.
Yes.
If you know say, well, we get a nice yield of food.
Yeah, you can eat it, but we're not going to eat it.
Yeah, but I just we sell to the
Yes.
supermarket.
Yes. Yes.
Them do for them job. Them not eat not one.
And one of the thing about it is, as you're talking about, you know, them pumping it full of chemicals, it's the same industrial farming module took away the value of nutrition from the food because it now became marketable. It's just a product now. And under the industrial model, you promote your product and your service. So now it's no longer the natural thing that grows in everybody's farm. It's now my specific in my farm, and I produce the best lettuce, the best tomato. And so because of that, it caused people to go to extreme lengths to take away the nutritional value out of these fruits, these vegetables, these food stuff, and replace them with visual appeal. One of the visual appeals is size. So they convinced us that it is not the nutritional value that matters, it's the size that matters. So, as you say, so because the industrial farming module now have them thinking not about nutritional value but about size, but the farmer doesn't care anymore about that. He cares about how much the yield is, because with that 20-pound melon, right, at $1,000 a pound, well, them just got 20 grand. And so he's thinking about that over the nutritional value. So why is that important? Because when they genetically modify through yield and all these selective breeding and harvesting, what they have done is basically said, we are sacrificing what gives it its nutritional value, that is the right biological mix of the elements as how God and nature intended it to be. They have altered that to make it larger, which is like, in a layman's term, putting yeast in the dough, baking soda in the bread, so it's just puffed up, it doesn't have any substance. So all of this is just causing the fruit to balloon, become water heavy and nutritionally deficient. And while the enemy, because I tell you when I do these videos, I listen to the Most High and I'm coming from the Spirit. The enemy know that's where the energy coming from, so I try to block me. Epidemiologically, it is the study of diseases. And if they don't want me to they don't want me to put it together. But epidemiology is about diseases. And the epidemiological research is about what relation does our food, our lifestyle has to the causality of diseases. This is what I'm trying to fight me. So food is one of the heavy causes of disease. And so when they have chemically modified the food, it is more likely that your genetical makeup, because generations of you eating things the organic way, created an identity within the genes, right? It is epigenetical. And so now when it is altered now, we start having degenerative diseases that we never used to have, linked to the food. Now 20-year-olds have diabetes and chronic illnesses are now attacking teenagers, chronic diabetes in 9-year-olds and 10-year-olds. This was unheard of because the food has changed up the biological makeup. And so a lot of disease are being caused by food. And it comes back now to farming practices now. When people used to understand how to farm, when I was saying centripetal and centrifugal, centripetal means you go in a aerobic. You make a circle when you're tilling the soil and go back to center, right? And the anaerobic way or the centrifugal way is to go away from center, right? And why is that important? Because what the machine does with its drill is centrifugal. What it does, it digs the nutrients that is in the soil and takes it and exposes it on the outside, and have created an improper mixing in biomass. Centripetal is you mixing the biomass, the mulch, into that first layer of the topsoil. All of the phosphorate and the sulfur that is natural in the soil, not the ammonia and the other stuff in fertilizer, the natural stuff is created through that, where the worms eat. That is the right temperature and environment of farming. This is what biochemical phosphorus, ammonia-based fertilizers destroy. And so when it destroys that over large spaces of land, period of time, the entire environment becomes degraded. And this is the ensuing cause of famine, the improper farming practices that's causing disease, from autism to many motor neuron diseases, to the kind of degenerative illnesses that is happening younger and younger, is related to the food. So this farming structure that is ungodly, unnatural, destroys the environment, the artificial food system, supply system. All of this is going to lead to some form of breakdown. Because when all of that falls and the machine and it doesn't operate anymore, the QR codes don't work and all of that, who's going to go back to farming when they do not know anything about farming? When they're going to go with the mindset of digging up the soil and destroying it. So after a year or two, it's no longer useful, right? You can no longer farm on it, right? We have to go back to old practices. Go back to your grandmother way of doing things, your grandfather way of doing things. Study it, listen to them. Some of them are still here, talk to them. Let them tell you how, even if they're not farmers, let them tell you how their great-grandparents used to do it in the country. Yeah? And if you still got some, go to the country, learn something, take a course on organic farming. Yeah? Move your life in a direction where your food security isn't dependent on someone else. Because when this famine happens, and it will happen, because the artificial systems are driving towards that. Hallelujah. And that's going to be the ultimate end game. Because those who feed you will control you, Hunger Games style.
Yeah, I can remember the father said there shall be pestilence, famines, wars, rumors of wars, hard times. Hard times coming. So the Bible don't prepare we. So I prepare we ourselves. Just a refresh your mind. Kind much him tell we say, don't be sorrowful, don't be sad when these things happen. But be joyful, knowing that these things has to come to pass. For all prophecy to come true.
Amen.
So I just just prepare ourselves. As him say, head to the mountains, get out of Babylon, get out of the wicked one,
Yes.
Because a wicked one ways, wicked one food. Can you remember when Daniel a Daniel going to the place now and hold up a Babylon food. And him say, no man, we don't want none of that. You know? So we have to go refuse Babylon food.
It's not healthy, it's not good. It's not food.
Yes, I build our own food a yard, man.
Grow your own food.
Yeah, grow our own food, you know?
Because when it build it on a food that.
So, yeah, because them make seed with pesticide in it, you know? Like some blue seed. And they don't need to spray it.
Yeah, it's a GMO. It's the same thing like onion and pepper in one.
Yeah.
It's the idea that we are manufacturing an idea.
And even the bees, them make bees in a lab and that them work on. Because they realize them kill off the bees. So them say, okay, let us make some. So they make robot bees in a lab right now.
For pollinate,
to pollinate.
Well, I would say man is crazy. You destroy things and then you're trying to copy it with a machine when you should just let the natural thing take course. So simple, this video is just to the conscientious soul who recognizes that there's a scarcity argument movement in global resources, especially as it has to do with food security. I kind of delved over into the quality of the food anyway. We discussed a little bit about the practices of farming that food anyway, and we looked at the industrial economic module of selling that food and recognizing that all of that is natural and all of that is controllable by man. So man can do certain things to drive up the prices of his genetically modified food or his so-called luxury goods or luxury items, his square watermelons that are, specially designed, or, we've got those follicle June plum apples, whatever they are, that we just put a stencil over it and leave it in the garden and it come like two lovebirds, kumquat, chocho, orange pear, whatever. So now we've got man saying that he can now shape himself into the food ideology. So now you can even 3D print your face onto a stencil now and print and put these pears in it, and the pear is going to grow into the size of the stencil and it's going to be your face. So this nonsense and absurdity is what has taken over natural, godly ways of existence. These things means that we're moving towards a one global system where when you do not agree, they can say no rain for you, no grain for you, no food for you. You'll be eating Campbell's soup till you're dead. Right? So now they've got all these non-perishable that has been in a can for 1,000 years, pardon me, 20, 30 years, that they're going to ship off to us, the poor and disenfranchised in the third world. Yeah? And exactly in alignment, 3 to 5 years after, all these weird diseases just start to pop up. Yeah? Yeah? And people are suffering from all these things that they have no name for it. And just like how I cannot pronounce epidemiological, yeah, it's just stuff like that, you're tripping over yourself, like you're just going, yeah? And it's all in the food. Right? So my mother's statement is what I'm going to use before I flow out of here, before we flow out here. For licky licky. For nyami nyami. That means that be careful of who is feeding you. And if we are more in control of where we get our resources from, if we know our farmers are organic, people that are the true farmers market, the community market, Miss Jane and Uncle John, say them plant them thing. It's organic, it's natural. And if you're into animals, that them don't feed them animal no bag feed. That them don't put none of this something. Some people might say it doesn't matter. It's okay. I already said it's okay. So if you think it doesn't matter, it's okay. But however, if it doesn't matter, trust me, go and buy from those people who fed their animals with organic peel from their fruits, from the the feedstock that is natural. It wasn't boiled in a vat. There wasn't anything added to it hormonally. It might have been some old chocho and yam heads, and so chop up and banana and boil down and feed in the pig or the goat or the cow, right? But that it's natural. That's what they're eating. So when you eat that animal, if you're an animal eater, it's natural. And if you're not eating meat, don't think you get away, because if the vegetables are farmed with chemicals, it's no different. It don't make no difference. So go to the Rastaman, the rootsman, the organic person that again, It's not using no chemicals, right? And get those produce for your health and your wealth and your well-being. And you won't have to fill up the wards, the lobbies, the reception area in the hospitals and the clinics across Jamaica and across the world with all of the degenerative diseases that are epidemiologically is linked to your food. It's the causes of the disease. So to get out of this famine mindset, don't let your food be in somebody else's hand. Those who feed you control you. Marcus Garvey said that. Read your Bible, learn of the pestilence and things to come, listen to the inspired word of God, start feeding yourself on the good word, and also from that good word, create that environment that is healthy, sustainable, and natural, right? So when the farming crisis and catastrophe hits, and the famine is upon us, and you can't get gas, and gas is this and this is that, and everything is grinding to a halt, and this don't work, or your cell phone don't work, and whatever. Remember, God had said, you know, to follow the ways of nature. Brother Singh.
Yeah, man. Read the Bible. Learn about these things. You see, because the Father tell we about it. We see it play out in front of us. Notice. Go to the supermarket, and if you don't realize the price of everything slowly going up, do your research and you will find out that Babylon is planning something against the Most High people and against them own people as well.
You say innocent, those who don't know.
Yes, I.
Hey.
So I just prepare ourselves, you know?
So that's where we're going to leave it. Preparing ourselves for these impending famines, man-made and otherwise, that we are in the best of our health and food security in our natural, organic, and even inorganic environments in the city, in the mountains, in between, yeah, even if you're on the waterfront, yeah, get a little piece of land space, even if it's zinc beneath, and put some soil on top of it, and stick some things in it on the waterfront if you're out on a houseboat. Get some scallion, onions and peppers and cabbage and cauliflowers going out there. You just need some soil, right? And you can use some of the fish guts and certain things, other little things, and dry it and sun it and make your fertilizer and your manure, right? So learn to make your manure, get your little farm produce, your organic stuff, put them in a heap, you understand? Usually anything above 60 to 80 degrees will start breakdown, and usually within 3 to 6 months, yeah, you can have new composting soil, yeah. These are things to consider as we get out of the predicament of famine and get back towards the fertile, healthy, harmonious way of life. So until next time, this has been a great hour in the presence of my co-host, Brother Ramon Singh.
Perfect love.
Perfect love.